I've reached a sort of crossroads, I think, in my life. My children are just about to go to secondary school, so they're becoming more independent. I've reached an age where, quite honestly, I thought my career would have stopped, or I would have wanted it to stop. And I want to understand better what's driving me on. I'm quite a driven person, and I've only just recognised this. It's a very new thing for me. And I think now, right now, I want to know why I feel like this. I want to understand why I have these feelings. I know that there are ancestors back there who were like me, and I just want to know about them. I want to meet them.
Lesley Garrett, Britain's most popular soprano, left her working-class roots in Yorkshire 30 years ago to train at the Royal Academy of Music in London. She stayed in the south and today lives with her husband Peter and children Jeremy and Chloe in North London.
Basically, I've just got to translate it.
Okay, well, you can do that. I know you can.
Well, I can try.
Okay, listen, I've got to go and pack. I'm going away on a trip, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to leave you to it, all right?
Okay. Thank you, Dickie.
Okay, I'll see you later. Just going in here to finish my packing. This is the nerve centre of my operation, as you can see. Complete mess. This is where all my clothes are. This is where all my paperwork is, all the administrative side of my work. And this is me getting ready to go. My childhood was dominated by my parents continually overcoming adversity, which was enormously inspiring to me, enormously inspiring. And my grandparents similarly, actually, because I came down to the Royal Academy of Music and I did feel like a fish out of water. There weren't many people from, you know, working class Yorkshire at the Royal Academy of Music when I went. There are now, but there weren't when I went. And I was having a really bad time. I lost my voice, and so I'd written to tell my mum. She was crying because she couldn't help me, couldn't think of a way to help me, and she just bent down and scooped up a handful of grit from our garden and put it in an envelope with a little note that said, "I think you need some Yorkshire grit, so I'm sending you some." Much as I loved Yorkshire, I have to admit I couldn't wait to get away. That was always a conundrum to me. It still is in a way. There is a sense to which I don't belong, and I want to find out what my ancestors did and how they lived. And I passionately want my children to know about them.
You have to go.
Yeah, but I'll be back soon, you know I will.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I'll be back Thursday.
Alright.
You'll be good, okay?
Okay.
Love you.
Love you
Bye.
too.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Lesley was the first in her family to leave Yorkshire. She's decided to head back to her childhood home to try to work out why she wanted to get away in the first place.
We never had any money, but then nobody did, so, you know, we were all in the same boat, more or less. We had an outside toilet from when I was about 5 or 6. I remember birds used to get into this toilet and we used to find them drowned in the morning. It was a bit gruesome. And I could just remember sort of being in this toilet and singing and it just making me feel better. I just felt calmer, actually, when I sang.
Lesley grew up in Thorne, near Doncaster in South Yorkshire, where her family still live.
I don't come here that often anymore, really. I used to work there on the market, so I got hypothermia when I was 14. Chip shop should be on the left. Oh, it's a mini market now. This used to be a chip shop. I used to queue here with my nanny for fish and chips. Oh, no, there's the chippy. No, it's still a chip shop. Oh, God, this is so familiar to me. This is so painfully familiar.
Lesley's on the way to her father Derek's house. Derek's always lived in or around Thorne. He started his working life as a signalman, but later qualified as a teacher, rising to headmaster.
The biggest memory, funnily enough, when I was very tiny that I have of him is of his smell. He just sort of smelled of industry somehow. He had this wonderful, wonderful smell of sort of coal and steam and oil about him. A working man's smell.
What's he doing with pigeons?
This is a microphone, Father. This is a microphone. Hello.
On the microphone.
Yeah.
Looks like some sort of hairy badger. All right, love.
Oh, this is looking brilliant.
Yes.
Fabulous. This is finished, Dad. This is unusual.
No, well, no, it's not quite finished. No,
Let's sit down over
there's
it.
quite a lot to do
Right.
yet.
I can remember when you went to college, because you were the first member of our family, not only to own your own house and to completely do it up from scratch, but you were the first member of our family to go into further education.
You were always in those days encouraged to better yourself.
Yeah.
Your parents, your grandparents, you must better yourself, you know.
Yeah. But I can also remember expressions like, don't get above yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't.
And who do you think you are?
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, so, which to me were
Yeah.
a complete contradiction.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was desperate to get above
Yeah.
myself, frankly. I
Yeah.
would, you know, as you were.
A signalman was an ace job for me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of space between trains coming and trains going,
Yeah.
and being ready for trains,
Yeah.
where you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
And you read. I got a nickname on the railway called Boots, because every time the train passed the window, the caller could see were my boots up
Your feet up.
reading,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. What you show me then?
Look, you seem to be delving into the past. You seem to be going very historical on me. So, come and have a look in here. Here lies a little bit of a mystery. That is your great-great-granddad's gold watch.
Great-great-granddad Garrett.
Yes. There he is, look.
Oh, sir, I've never seen this.
That's him there. That's Charlie. Let me get a better picture.
Oh, there.
Charlie
That must be
Garrett,
Charlie.
yeah. You see that watch chain? You've got it.
Oh,
in,
is that this?
You've got it in your hand.
Look at that. What date is this then?
That's 1901, and he was a Thorne parish councillor.
Wow.
Now he
Yeah,
is
look, 1900.
a bit of a mystery.
And he's my great-granddad's dad, so my great-great-granddad.
Yeah.
And this is 1901.
Yep. There is a strange story
Yeah.
that his wife died through being given some noxious substance when she called for her medicine. This is an absolute mystery. Now, I believe it was like me,
Yeah.
that at 9 o'clock at night his right elbow starts to lift. You know,
Uncontrollably towards the
it would
moon.
be nice to find out.
Well, he looks like you,
yeah.
doesn't he? He looks like you a little.
What? You mean big and fat?
No.
Yeah, well,
just
there-
got broad face.
There's the watch to you.
Right, I'll take the watch and the photos, and
Yeah.
I'm going to try and find out a bit more about all these people.
Okay,
Right,
love?
my love. Try then, love.
Ta-ra, love. Don't find out too much.
To find out what happened between great-great-grandfather Charles and his wife Mary, Lesley's going to the local town council, where Charles served as a councillor at the end of the 19th century. The current leader of the council is Richard Walker. He may be able to help.
Let's just do it, see if I can find Richard.
Hello.
Hello. You must be Richard
I am, yes. How are you?
Leslie.
Nice to see
meet
you.
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hoping you could help me out with a
Yes,
bit of
hopefully we
information.
can, yes.
Yeah? Great.
Okay, you wanting, just come on in.
Thank you.
Take a pew.
I'm looking for information about my great-great-grandfather.
Yes. What would you like to know?
Well, do records go that far back?
Yes, I'll get you the, I've got a minute book.
That would be fantastic.
These go back to 1780, but these up here, I'm looking for around about, this is 1894 to
I don't know when he was elected to the council, so I'm hoping you can tell me.
Well, he was on the council in 1900.
Right, yes.
So if we look from, these are from 1894 to 1905.
I've got a photograph of him on the council in 1901. But I don't think
We have
we've got
I
any
have a
others.
photograph of that.
Have
because
you?
He and both my great-grandparents were on the council at the same time.
So they'd have known each other. That's
Yeah.
extraordinary. And are your grandparents on the photo too?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
Well, if we go to the main chamber, I think that might be in
That'll be fabulous.
more room.
Lead on.
Thank you. Come this way. There's your great-great-grandfather there,
Mr. C. Garrett.
Mr. C. Garrett.
Yeah.
I think at the time, you know, most of the people that were on the council, they were supposedly men of standing of the town.
You had to have some kind of status, did you?
They had some sort of standing in the town. As I understand, your great-great-grandfather, he was I think he was a landowner.
Was he? I don't know.
I think
anything
so.
About him.
I think so. I think if you look in the old minute books and all the what they call the Thorn Overseers books, that was before there was a parish council. It met in the vestry of the church.
Yes.
And you'll find in there that it listed that he had pieces of land. Right, this is a minute book, and it's dated 1895. Used to meet in the Red Lion on Finkel Street. It was there were rooms behind there.
Oh,
Maybe they were in there afterwards, had the council meeting, then next door for a pint. I don't know. Or a jug of ale, as it would be then. There was a meeting here to take into consideration the thought advisable to adopt a Public Libraries Act of 1892 against Councillor Constable and Councillor Garrett. He was against the library.
No. The library has featured so much in my life and my
Yeah.
father's. It's interesting that he would have been against it, because I don't feel I have a lot in common with this man. There's not any. I don't feel there's any music in this man.
Anyway, they had a meeting on the 4th of November, called attention to the unsatisfactory state of the footpath, proposed by Councillor Constable, seconded by Councillor Garrett. So he was against the education, but he was for the footpath being right.
That's so he wouldn't fall over, I should think, after he comes out the
When he be
pot.
after the Red Lion.
Yeah.
Yes.
As well as being a councillor and farmer, Charles also ran a butcher's shop in the centre of Thorn. He and his wife Mary had 6 children. Their 4th son, Tom, is Lesley's great-grandfather. Lesley's next stop is the Doncaster Archives, 10 miles away, to try to find out exactly what happened to her great-great-grandmother, Mary.
So Doncaster Archives is down this road somewhere. Ah, here it is. Archive department. Fantastic. Mary Ann Garrett died on the 12th of April 1899. She was 57 years old, and she was the wife of Charles Garrett, who was a butcher and a farmer. Death from poisoning by carbolic acid, accidentally administered. Oh, for goodness sake. Wow. By whom?
Carbolic acid was the standard disinfectant of the day. It was used both at home and in the workplace. Mary's death may have been reported in the local paper, the Doncaster Chronicle. The microfiche of the paper is held at the town library.
Shocking death. A wife accidentally poisoned by her husband. Mr. F.E. Nicholson, District Coroner. Mr. F.E. Nicholson, District Coroner, held an inquest at the Red Lion Hotel. They held inquests in pubs, this is a good, on Thursday morning. Reaching the bottle off the mantel shelf, he poured out a tablespoon of the contents into a wine glass. The medicine bottle was also on the mantel shelf, and it too was labelled and similar in shape to the one containing the poison. I don't believe it. And after she had drunk, she said, "Oh, Charlie, you have given me the wrong stuff." He said, "Oh, for God's sake, I hope not." He gave her some milk and sent for Dr. Mortimer. But his wife died in about 20 minutes. Personally, the coroner had known Mr. Garrett for a number of years, as had all the jurymen. That sounds impartial, doesn't it? The jury returned a verdict of death from carbolic poisoning accidentally administered. My great-grandfather just said sorry, gave her the wrong bottle, and he was believed.
Mike Green used to be a pathologist in South Yorkshire. He's going to talk to Lesley about her great-great-grandmother's death.
Good evening.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Lesley. Nice to meet you.
Thanks
Hello.
for coming. Come and sit down, please.
Thank you very much indeed.
I wonder if you can help me with this.
I'll try. Death from poisoning by carbolic acid accidentally administered. Once it's absorbed, the first area that it hits is the respiratory centre. And so the classic description of these people is that they complain of transient pain,
Yes.
then they collapse, they go blue, they go sweaty, the breathing becomes more and more shallow, they might have the odd convulsion because of the deprivation of oxygen, and then they die.
Tablespoonful, he claims, he put into a wine glass.
That's enough to knock off a small elephant, I would have thought. Even in Thorn. So, but people were very concerned about this. There were about 200 deaths a year due to carbolic acid swallowed
Yes.
as opposed to spilt every year between 1890 and 1900.
Well, there's a lot about this report that puzzles me. For instance, he was in the kitchen and reaching the bottle off the mantel shelf, he poured out a tablespoon of the contents into a wine glass. The medicine bottle was also on the mantel shelf, and it too was labelled and similar in shape to the one containing the poison. This is presumably a bottle that he's very familiar with.
You would have thought so,
You would
yes.
have thought so, wouldn't you?
This is a bottle from the 1890s, says not to be taken,
Yes.
and you can see that anybody who picks this up
Would feel the riches.
But
Yeah.
you can see, holding these two side by side on the mantelpiece, you would have thought
Yes.
you would notice the difference.
He told his son Tom to smash the bottles. So this mistake couldn't be made again, it says.
Well, there was nobody around to make
Exactly.
the mistake on,
Yes.
was there? You know, the problem had died with the
This
patient.
is wonderful,
so,
isn't it? Yes. This was completely accepted by the jury, which again, interestingly, it says were all known to and friends of my great-great-grandfather. I don't know if that would have been typical for the time as
Oh,
well.
yes, it was. It was, 12 good, upright local citizens. And, of course, all of them had to be property holders in those days. They had to be householders. Everybody knew everybody else, especially in a small place like Thorn.
And the coroner appeared to be a friend of Charles Garrett's as well.
How very convenient.
Isn't that extraordinary? But that wouldn't have been unusual.
Well, no, nowadays I think the coroner would have to declare an interest and possibly it would be moved out of area, but this was par for the course for the time. And, of course, if you were a solid, respectable citizen, there is no way that you would do anything to the wife of your bosom. Or is there?
No, I suppose not. No.
Till death do us
Till
part,
death
you
do
know,
us
and we won't
part.
help it along any.
Lesley's keen to tell her dad what she's uncovered about Mary's death.
Get in here.
Well, I've had a very interesting time.
I bet.
Yes, I think I've found the
So what you found out?
answer. Well, great-great-granddad Charlie did kill his wife, Mary. He actually poisoned her. He gave her carbolic acid to drink by mistake. allegedly.
Carbolic acid?
Carbolic acid.
By mistake?
By mistake. He was supposed to be giving her a tonic, and he mistook the bottle of tonic for the bottle of carbolic acid. We found the death certificate, which refers to the coroner's report, which was all done within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, they'd gone into the pub next door, the Red Lion, and they'd convened a jury, and the coroner had come, and they'd decided unilaterally that it was an accident and that great-great-granddad was not to blame.
That will explain the rift that must have happened between Charlie and Tom and Mary, my granddad and granny.
Derek's grandfather Tom and his new wife Mary began to cut themselves off from Charles soon after his wife's death.
Mary was the strength of the marriage. She was known in the family as the Duchess.
Tom is Charlie's son.
That's right.
So there was a rift between them.
Oh, yes.
Between them. I didn't know
there
about that.
must have been, because no matter how I questioned my dad, he didn't know anything about Charlie, his granddad. Didn't know a thing.
So he was kept away from him.
He was kept away from him by either Tom or Mary, or Tom and Mary, but I think possibly
But why?
Mary.
Because of this accident? Because of all this killing?
One of the things could be, I suppose, but remember, my Granny Mary was very religious.
Yeah.
And she was very into temperance things. And if there was any suspicion that public houses or alcohol had come into it at all, I think she might have put the shutters up.
Towards the end of the 19th century, the temperance movement was a growing political and social force. One of its objectives was to try to restrict the use of alcohol, which was considered the root of all evil. In Thorne, Lesley's meeting social historian, Professor Keith Laybourne, to try to understand Mary and her role in the temperance movement better.
Look at this. This is wonderful. What's this place, Keith?
This is the Temperance Hall. It was built in 1903. With temperance, I mean, the real concern was that a respectable person is one who should be thrifty, should be involved in self-help. Drink, of course, was a hindrance to that.
Right.
Then there was a movement for teetotalism, but by the late 19th century, the movement really in temperance had moved towards trying to restrict drink through legislation rather than a moral call to people. And often it's the women who, certainly the sort of lower middle class or middle class women, who take up this responsibility for trying to control drink. And at this period, there's a lot of social reform. Temperance leads into social reform. They're part of that process. And remember, it's not that many years before women, at least over the age of 30, have the vote in 1918. And 1928, of course, it's the flapper vote, women over 21. Within 20-odd years, 20, 30 years, society has completely changed. I suspect that Charles would have been very upset at the sort of activities that Mary was involved in. They're a challenge to his authority.
Keith Laybourne's description of Mary's new world of temperance strongly contrasts with the old Victorian world of Charles Garrett.
Interestingly, the Temperance Society we have from this cutting here was inaugurated just 4 or 5 months, 6 months after my great-great-grandmother died. So we might have a situation here where drink was connected with more than one accident, and that women of the community were saying, we've had enough now, we have to do something about tackling the issue of drink. I can see a situation where the newly married Mary, wife of Tom, would want to make friends with other women. I think she didn't want anything to do with her father-in-law, Charlie, and the scandal of what had happened to his wife with the drink that surrounds this man. I think she wanted a cleaner life, a better life. She wanted to belong to this society. And look where she is, in the middle, at the top. She wanted that to be the dominating influence. And the only way she could achieve that was by removing him from their family life. So he had to go.
In the end, Charles paid a high price for what happened. There never was a reconciliation with his son Tom and daughter-in-law Mary. The rift had a dramatic impact on the Garrett family. It seems Tom never inherited any of Charles's land. He also shunned his father's world of local politics. Instead, he and Mary ran a small butcher's shop in Thorne.
Have you got a yard
Yes,
at the back?
yes.
Do you think I could have a look at it? Because I'm trying to find out if it's that yard. Because that's my great-granddad Garrett,
Yeah.
called Tom, and that's his wife, Mary, and that's the front of their butcher's shop, which we think was here.
Yeah.
And that's the slaughterhouse
It
yard.
might be a bit different now, though.
Can we
but
go
you
and
can
have a look?
have a look.
Because it'd be great if it is, and I can stand just where he stood. This would have been full of animal parts, presumably.
That might be the old wall, but I don't know. I don't know.
So this is your yard, is
Yeah.
it?
I think it could be probably across that back there.
Well,
You know that
yes.
across there?
Yes. Look, that looks very
Yeah.
much the same brickwork, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, that could be it across there. Well, that's your new wall there. That's your new building there, that part
So
there.
my granddad would have been stood about here, looking out. That's amazing. Isn't it, look?
Yeah.
I think this is the yard where my great-grandfather, Tom Garrett, would have slaughtered animals, done all the things that butchers do, scrubbed down with carbolic acid. And I think it must have been a really hard and difficult life. And that's my great-grandmother, Mary, looking, I think, pretty determined to get her only son, Arthur, who was also born here in 1909, away from this kind of life and into a better life, a life that was more reliant upon education. And I think she wanted him away from here and onto the railways, because there he could have a nice clerical job, he could sit in an office, he could write things down, he could be clean and tidy.
Arthur, Lesley's grandfather, was bright enough to win a place at the local grammar school. And when the railways came to Thorne to help support the newly sunk mines, he got a job with prospects, working as a clerk. In 1929, Arthur married Kathleen Appleton, the daughter of a coal miner. Within 2 generations, Lesley's family had gone from landowners to the heart of the working class. Kathleen's brother Bill, also a former mine worker, still lives in Thorne.
Hello, Uncle Bill.
Come in.
You expecting me? Lovely to see you. It's been a little while, hasn't
Bring
it?
the gang in.
Oh, I haven't been here for a while, Uncle Bill. Can we go into the garden?
If you like.
Oh, look, you're well set up, aren't you? Oh, this is grand.
And my bedside chair.
That's fantastic.
I've had my siesta for today, though.
Did you make that?
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? Is it roadworthy? Oh, yes. Very comfortable.
It's safe.
This is all right.
It's safe upside.
Going back to the pit, Uncle Bill, was it a very dangerous
No.
job?
Oh, it's a dangerous job. There's always danger in the pit. Pit work's terrible.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
kind of things went on then?
Well, no end of accidents. See them nails?
Yeah.
Them fingernails, look at them, have a good look at them. I've had every one of them pulled out by the doctor.
Why?
Dr. Henry wouldn't have a black nail, and you were always working on the haulage, you were always getting
Yeah.
fingers trapped
Yeah.
and
yeah.
blacking your nails.
Yeah.
And you went to the doctor, he got pliers and told you a joke, and
Oh. How come over all peculiar? I wanted you to tell me about my great-granddad Appleton, because all my memories of him, obviously, are as a very, very elderly man. He was a big, strong man, wasn't he?
well, it was my build,
Yeah.
as near as anything. If you want to say I'm big and strong, then you can.
Absolutely, Uncle Bill.
Both Bill and his father Frank spent their working lives mining the deep High Hazel coal seam, more than 800 metres beneath Thorne.
How many years was great-granddad down the pit then?
Well, he retired at 65, and he was down as long as I can remember. He'd do 50 years, I should think.
Oh, goodness me. And didn't he have a really bad accident?
Oh, yeah. He was working along the face, and his job was finished, and he was coming off home, and this prop shot out
Yeah.
with the weight come on it, and it flew, and
Right.
it struck him straight across the chest and his head here.
And what happened next?
And, well, brought him out on the stretcher, and
So he was knocked out cold,
oh,
was
he was absolutely out cold. He were out cold for 10 days.
he? Really?
Oh, it's a dangerous job. There's always danger in the pit. Pit work's terrible.
In the late 1930s, when Frank was injured, the UK coal industry employed more than 1 million men. Almost 1,000 of them were killed or injured every year.
You remember the accident?
No, I didn't remember for ages, and he never talked about it either.
Right.
No.
Did it change him at all?
No, I don't think it changed him at all, no.
Right.
No.
Because I had heard it from my dad that he was quite a belligerent man before the accident, and then became
No, he was never.
gentle.
No,
So he was
no,
always a
you've got
gentleman,
it
was he?
wrong. Yes, he was never belligerent anyway.
Because I remember him as just being really gentle and lovely.
Yeah, well,
He had
that's...
so much time for us little ones.
No, he wasn't a family man at all.
Really?
No, he was a club man.
What was he doing at the club?
Eh?
What did he do?
He was the treasurer at one time.
Right.
He was at the pit earning the wages, and when he wasn't at the pit, he was at the club.
It was a social club,
It
was
was
it?
a social club,
Right.
yes.
To escape the harsh reality of working down the pit, miners organised working men's clubs. One of their functions was to provide social support. Great-grandfather Frank was a leading member of one of the many social clubs that sprung up around the pits of South Yorkshire. Almost 50 years after the Thorn pit closed down, many of those clubs are still there.
Gosh, I didn't know this, was it, yeah?
They're doing all this out next week, shelling it.
Have they? What are we going to do, take all the polystyrene tiles down?
Yeah,
Oh, that'll be a shame.
Lesley's meeting trade unionists David Douglas and Harold Irvin, who worked with Frank down the mine as a young man.
What you got there?
These are the old communist papers from Thorn in the 1930s.
Communist?
Yeah.
In the 30s.
In the 30s? That's the way my great-granddad was down the pit then?
Yeah.
The thing I remember about him is he used to always be saying, the Russians will redeem the world.
Workers believed that Russia was a place where the workers ran society, where you had the start of socialism, where people this was a third of the entire Earth's landmass had been taken over by working people who got rid of the rich, got rid of the aristocracy, got rid of capitalism, and were installing some kind of society what they ran and controlled. Of course, we know retrospectively that it wasn't the kind of paradise workers thought it was.
I know my great-granddad Appleton came here in 1927 because he was involved in the 1926 strike in Edlington.
In 1926, a general strike was called by the TUC. Miners downed tools and marched in protest against a proposed increase in working hours and a cut in wages. Many of the more militant trade unionists were hoping that a successful strike might pave the way for a socialist revolution in Britain. Lesley's great-grandfather Frank organised a soup kitchen at his local club for miners who could barely afford to feed their families.
The welfare state was a dream that people like my dad and my granddad had fought for. They know what the world that they were in was like, but they had a clear vision of what the world they wanted to be in looked like in terms of social justice, healthcare, education, and treating each other with respect.
But from a union perspective, the strike was a disaster. It was crushed after just 10 days. The miners themselves were eventually starved back to work 8 months later. Revolutionary aspirations were never the same again. Just over half a century later, in the early 1980s, mining unions went on strike again in an attempt to prevent mass closure of pits. The unions were crushed for a second time, and the battle to keep pits open was lost forever.
If you look around these pit villages now following the closures that followed 84, 85, but more particularly the closures of 1994 under John Major, 93, 94, the decimation in these villages where there's no pit, there's no work, the community's been under attack, we're besieged by drug addiction, deprivation, antisocial crime. The only rock that remains is the clubs.
And who started that vision?
Those people of that generation.
My great-grandfather.
Yeah.
God, that was fantastic. That was just brilliant in there. Oh, I just love that. The vision of what the world could be, inspired by communism, was everything to him. And he basically devoted his life to that. I don't think he was perhaps the best dad in the world to Bill, but my goodness, he gave this community everything. And that's just fabulous to have touched that. there's a complete link being made for me with Frank now. I had this dream of what I wanted to be. And I wanted to be this opera singer, and I wanted to share it with the community.
Lesley's always suspected that her classical music inspiration comes from her mother's side of the family, the Walls. Like the Garretts, many of them were miners, and music was an important part of their lives. Mine owners provided musical instruments free of charge to their employees. The result was that almost every pit had its own brass band. It was Lesley's maternal great-grandfather, William Wall, who was the first to show an interest in music.
I know there were really, really musical miners in my family, on my mum's side, my great-granddad Wall, and I'm just fascinated to know how they got their music out of themselves, how they developed musically. I can't understand how the miners would have the resources left to find music, to look for it, to train. And yet, on the other hand, goodness, they have to, don't they? There has to be some chink of light. I mean, the sort of sensory deprivation that there is in the pit is so complete that I can imagine you'd actually be desperate to find music. Miners had this dogged determination, this inward kind of steel, if you like, that got them through every day. And yet, if you put any miner, probably in the world, in front of a brass band and let that band play, there'll be tears in their eyes.
And long after the pits have closed, the music carries on. Band leader and former miner Phil Dickens still spends his evenings teaching the local brass band. The Dinnington Colliery Band is over 100 years old and still going strong. Lesley wants to find out how its members were taught music as children, in the hope that she'll better understand her great-grandfather, William.
It's really nice of you. I've just wanted to talk to you all about how you came to be musicians and how you learnt in the first place.
When we started, they didn't give you an instrument.
Yeah.
They gave you a mouthpiece.
Just a mouthpiece?
Just and told you how to blow it.
Yeah.
And what to do with the tongue. And as soon as we could play it on the mouthpiece, they invited us into the band to start learning.
There were no printing books and that.
Oh no.
So it's all passed on hand to mouth?
I've never had any professional tuition, on theory side.
Yeah.
It's things what you just pick up and learn, over years.
Yeah.
When you've been out for 7-8 hours in dust and what have you, crawling about, to be able to go to band practice at night were a bit a way of relaxing, weren't it?
I felt so at home there because I learnt my music like that from my grandparents, and that was how William passed music on to my grandfather. And that's obviously the tradition that I'm part of and that is still continuing, and that just makes me so happy.
According to family legend, Lesley's great-grandfather William, with no formal musical training, taught his son Colin to play the piano to such a high standard that he became the first professional musician in the family. Lesley's on her way to visit her mother, Margaret, to try to establish how William was able to give Colin such a good musical grounding.
Hello. You popped in.
I've got William somewhere here. There,
Who's
look.
that?
That's William. There.
That's William.
That's William.
Did William know how to play the piano?
No.
Well, how did he find out?
I don't know. Incredible story, really.
Yeah.
I've asked my dad, and he said, I've never ever gone to anyone else in my life, in my childhood, for a lesson of any kind.
Yeah. So he got a book from somewhere, did he?
I think he must have been just a chapter ahead of him, of my dad, with the theory.
And was great-granddad William still down the pit when this was happening?
He was
hadn't
down
come
the
out
pit.
the pit by
No,
then,
he
had
was
he?
down the pit. Yeah, because, he used to come sometimes up and sit there in all his coal dust and stuff and put Colin through his paces and then go in his bath.
Colin was the eldest of 7 children. From an early age, it was clear he would never be strong enough to follow his father William down the mines.
My dad was the weakling of the family. He was the oldest.
He's the eldest? Oh,
yeah,
right.
he was the weakling. He'd got something wrong with his lungs.
Yeah.
But it ultimately did put itself right.
Did it?
And that's why he was put to piano.
Right.
Because, that's Grandad said that's all he's ever going to be good for. We'll have to put him to piano.
So, what do you think made my great-granddad
Yeah.
William so determined that Grandad should learn really well? Because he didn't just teach him to be a passable pianist.
Oh, the worst thing in the world for people then was to be without a job, because ultimately you finished up in the workhouse. And
The workhouse?
Yes, and if you were married, you were split from your wife and your family. So it was really...
So great-granddad was determined that Grandad should have a living of some
Yes,
kind.
and to get a good living, you've got to be as good as you possibly can be. He went through and took all the exams, all of them. In fact, this is his medal.
Awarded to Colin Wall, Piano Advanced Senior, April 1911.
Yes, he was 14.
So he was 14.
And it must have been quite a feat to win a medal like that, because out of the whole of the people who were being examined,
the whole country?
Yeah, he got the silver medal. Mind you, his dad made him practice 4 hours a day. Ultimately, of course, it was lucky he was a pianist, because there was a job eventually.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
This is Grandad?
It's Grandad.
Brilliant.
I've never heard this. It's lovely. It's ever such a lousy tape, but... Yeah.
Oh, isn't that fantastic? Oh, gosh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
In 1920, Colin got a job as a pianist, leading the orchestra for silent movies, one of 10,000 musicians playing at cinemas throughout Britain. At that time, the job was well paid and secure.
I still don't really know what my Grandad Wall did. I really wish I'd talked to him when he was alive about this, but he was always a bit reluctant to talk about his own musical past. It always seemed to upset him when I tried to talk to him. But I'd really like to know how he did it, how he played for these silent films. So I'm going to go to one of the last silent movie picture houses in the country, which is in Leeds. And I'm going to talk to a man called Neil Brand, who is one of the last remaining silent movie pianists in the country. I hadn't expected it to be like that at all. But I was fascinated to see that your eyes hardly left the screen.
No.
You know, you weren't looking at music or even your hands very often. You were watching the screen.
Yeah.
So therefore, you would need to know the film quite well before you started.
Yes, I know this film from having played it 3 or 4 times before. Your grandfather would have had one shot at it, interestingly. They would have one rehearsal on the Friday afternoon, and then they'd play it in front of the public for the first time on the Friday evening.
And how often did the films change over?
Once a week. Wow. And the musicians had such an incredible influence over the way an audience received a film. I mean, this is one of the beauties of the job then and for me now, was that you do entirely influence an audience as to how they take a character, as to how they see a scene, as to how they see the outcome. And it's a wonderfully kind of dictatorial position to be in.
So the music for a film would not be preset, it would be invented by that orchestra, would it?
Quite often.
Composed by that
Quite
orchestra.
often. I mean, people don't realise it actually is opera without words. Yeah. It was an art form which was extraordinarily complex.
But in the early 1930s, the arrival of the talkies killed the silent movies. It also spelt the end for thousands of musicians across the country. A golden age of live and improvised performance was over.
It's a tragedy for my granddad.
It was, yeah. He was one of many, many thousands.
Listening to Neil was almost like listening to a Puccini opera score. You know, I hadn't appreciated at all how the two overlap, how Puccini would have seen silent movies. The film scores and the opera scores were like that. So I've actually found a soulmate in Grandad, which I never expected to find. And I also hadn't appreciated just how creative and imaginative he would have had to have been to have made really interesting film music. You know, he was inventing this as he went along. I mean, I can only begin to glimpse how exciting that must have been for him.
When Colin lost his job, he was forced to choose between a life as a travelling musician and a job playing bar tunes at the White Hart Hotel in Thorne, now a pub and nightclub. For the sake of his family, he chose to stay in Thorne. He continued to play classical music, but only until the regulars arrived. Lesley's mother, Margaret, remembers Colin struggling to come to terms with his new life.
So I'm just trying to imagine what it must have been like for him, because, you know, he had this kind of glimpse of what a perfect career was. Well, people didn't have careers, did they, in those days?
No, but I know it must have been very special because he talked to me a lot about it, about the joy of it, and
when he was in the orchestra.
When he was in the orchestra, and the fun they had all together, and the selection of the music and all that. When he lost his job, as did hundreds of other people, he must have been desperate for work, and he'd got 2 daughters, and I was on the way. Mm. And when he found this job, he hung on to it like grim death, and he didn't enjoy it. My mum's told me that. Mm. Then he started to do some classical music. He'd come early and do some classical music, and gradually more and more people would come.
So he was introducing people who were not confident about classical music, which is what his granddaughters ended up doing.
Exactly. But there was not much joy in his life.
Do you think this experience then made him bitter?
Possibly it did, because he'd had his dream in the palm of his hand, and then it was torn away. And that was that. You know, it just kept going on, one foot in front of the other, which everybody did. Not just our family, everybody did that. But he'd worked so hard to achieve what he'd got, and then it through no fault of his own, it just wasn't.
That's just so sad when, you know, I had a dream.
I know, and you.
And I was able to fulfil mine.
Yes.
You know.
Although it's a sad tale, really, at least it gave him this love, this absolute and utter love. And throughout all our family, I can't imagine a life without any music.
I think we saw Yorkshire grit at its finest. Determination and vision and love. Yorkshire grit is being able to tolerate unbelievable pain and come back for more. You know, to suffer terrible injury and then know you've got to go back and do it all again because there's no choice and you've got to live. It shows unbelievable courage. This is the place I wanted to say goodbye to my Yorkshire ancestors from before I go back to London. It's the place I used to walk when I was a girl with friends from school. It's got the train line and the pit head and the slag heap and everything I suppose that was in my family's background. It's a really special place. I'd always thought I'd got a very working class background, but I found a lot of qualities that I've puzzled about in myself, in my various ancestors, which has so helped me make sense of myself. Great-great-granddad Charlie, for instance, obviously was ambitious. Great-grandma Temperance Mary, feminist. Great girl. Frank Appleton, great-granddad Frank Appleton, interested in politics. Colin, Grandad Wall. He's the great music lover, the great family lover, you know? So all of these things I really identify with. The family tradition here was always that you stayed here. And it's born out of, I think, the fear of the fragmentation of the family. Because in that fragmentation, there would be poverty. I think it goes right back to that now. I've understood that. My generation, for the first time, had opportunity to go, to fly. It's made me compelled to develop that, to take that on, to meet the challenge, if you like, of my ancestors. Because that's what it is in a way. When you look at your history, as I have done now, it challenges you to write your own story.
Do you have a good time in Yorkshire?
I had a brilliant time. Well, I missed you. You missed me?
Yes.
Go on, here we go.